Okay, this is a podcast thingy that I'm doing with Falcon, and
Hello.
yeah, that's Falcon, and we're I can't talk. We're doing a
So nothing
podcast,
new then.
yeah, a podcast about autism, and we're gonna talk about our experiences because autism is very different for every autistic person. Like, it's not really like the same for every person that's autistic, and we are both autistic, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we both fall into the autistic spectrum, so we feel we're okay to talk about this. Because
Yeah.
I know that it's what autism is one of those issues where I see a lot of people like, if you don't have it, you're not allowed to talk about it because you might say something wrong and offend someone.
The psychologists, when they talk about it, I don't know, it's
Well,
like,
they've studied in it, so it makes
yeah.
sense for them. But I mean, like, if you're a random Joe on the street who doesn't have it and you feel like randomly spewing stuff about it, you could easily offend somebody because you don't know the condition or what it does.
Yeah, like, I do get offended by when people say like they don't understand, but they like try to. They know that I'm autistic, but they think nothing of it. Like,
Yep.
when I
Like,
am not comfortable in a situation, they're like, "Just do this, just do that, easy," And I'm like,
yeah, it's
"No,
like, yeah,
no."
like, see, someone giving advice like that clearly doesn't know the condition or how it works.
Yeah,
Like, if they think that, oh, just do this and you'll be fine, like, no, that doesn't work. If you
indeed.
actually have the condition, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
This actually reminds me, at some point in the podcast, there's actually a charity I want to talk about, as this is an example of how not to help people,
Yeah,
if you're okay with me doing that on the podcast.
that's fine.
Alright, so with autism, it's something that, like, it's different to each person. There's no one type. That's something I've got to get out there now, because there's a lot of people that think that all autism is the same. It's
Yeah,
not. It's different per person, and
yeah, that's true.
it can affect you differently. Like, the spectrum for autism is a giant umbrella. So much falls into it,
Yeah,
and it affects each person who has it different.
yeah. Like, for example, me, like Falcon and I, we're both autistic. We're both high functioning, because we
Yep.
can both just do normal things. We can eat, we can bathe ourselves, we could handle our own finances, we could live on our own. All these things, we can just do anything. We can be like, I don't know, we can just do the same education as the others. And, uh, but we cannot, maybe
See,
not go, how do you call that?
when you fall into the high functioning, you have a few problems with social skills. Like, you might have trouble understanding other people's emotions
Yeah,
or your own. It again, it differs. There are some cases where you struggle to understand other people's, and there are cases where you struggle to understand your own.
yeah.
That's where, like, a bit of the change spectrum comes from.
Yeah, for me, it's like any autistic person, like almost any autistic person, has that they get overstimulated. So that's like one thing
Yeah,
already.
I think that's like the one thing that's like is actually shared between all people with autism is like they can get overstimulated.
For most people, at least, it's that they get overstimulated by things like bright lights or colors, or for me, it's like loud noises or the touch of other people or people standing too close to me, and also smell. That's also a thing. I'm
Yeah,
like oversensitive to like sounds and smell. Bright colors or lights, that's like fine for me. I've never noticed me like really needing sunglasses to go outside or something. That's not what I needed. I have overstimulation, but what other people also have, like, with high functioning autism, is that they don't understand other people's emotions, like not the obvious emotions, like when someone's crying, you can guess that they're sad, but you cannot really empathize, or you cannot understand, like, I don't know. I cannot really explain it because people have told me, but how I see it is that I am normal, and that other people can sense these other people's emotions very well. When they tell me, well, that's normal. We of course we can do that. That's what they tell
Yeah.
me, and then I'm like, how do you even do that? That's like really a skill, and they're like, no, that's like obvious. That's normal, and I'm like, whoa, I wish that I could have that, but that will always be like a riddle to me.
Yeah. I can give some examples. Like, I work at a youth club that specializes in autistic people. Like, I fall on the higher end of the spectrum, so I'm able to somewhat understand how they feel and act. And I've seen all sorts of like different cases how it affects them. Like, you got some who, like, one thing I've noticed a lot is they don't understand when they've done something wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's. I've never really. Oh, maybe I have, but I didn't understand it at that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. So it's not like a sense of like, oh, like they always do bad things, like they're wrong. Like, no, it's like they don't understand when they have done something bad to like explain it properly.
Are those like high functionings or?
These are mid to low.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they're mid to low functioning ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
the high functioning ones, like it's hard to tell a high functioning from a person who hasn't got it, but there's very subtle cues, like they have trouble with social skills and talking. Like, for example, I struggle socially. Like, I have trouble talking to people, and I have trouble like when I'm crowded, and I can't always understand people's emotions. Like, I can sense when something's wrong, but I can never fully understand.
Oh yeah. No, I have the same, and I know, like, for example, there's this example where in someone cried, and I didn't know why. And it was like
Yeah,
randomly. They randomly cried, and I was just sitting there like nothing happened. I didn't see anything happen like that made that person cry because we were just sitting there. And then other
yeah,
people were like comforting her, and uh, they already knew why she was crying. And I maybe if I would have thought about it, like, maybe this is why, but I have to I cannot like see that immediately, at least. Maybe after a while, but not immediately. And other people are like, I understand. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then sometimes people can see me as like, as if I'm not empathizing, but that's more because I don't understand what's happening. Like, for example, I know like when your parents will die, for example,
yep,
that's gonna be very sad. But I know I'm gonna be sad at that, like today at this moment. Like my parents are alive, but I know they will die in the future. That's just nature, and I know
yeah,
I will be sad, but I cannot really empathize even with that. So when someone says to me like my parents just died or something, not that someone said that to me, but just an example, uh, then I will know that it's very sad for them. I kind of feel bad for them, but I cannot really empathize because I don't know. I've never had that experience before, so I've never felt those feelings before of like the parents dying, that situation actually happening, and then the emotions that come um, like with the experience. So I don't know how to. Is that also for you? Is that the same for you, or is that like normal, or is that also like a autistic thing?
um, so I think it's a similar case with me as well. Like, but one thing I've also noticed is like people with autism can also be to a degree more sympathetic as well. It's a weird one.
Like, I actually get proud when I do understand people joking. That's
Yeah.
also something I cannot recognize, like sarcasm, like obvious sarcasm that it's so exaggerated. I can understand that. But when people are just trying to joke with me and they're like, for example, I asked my boss, when's my lunch break? And my boss just looks at me with this poker face, like serious face, and she says, you don't have a lunch break. But she's trying to mess with me. And but because I didn't recognize that. So I was like, I was about to defend myself. Like, why don't I have a lunch break? I deserve a lunch break. But she was like, I'm kidding, because she was like laughing already. And I'm like, oh, okay, okay, it's a joke. But they always try to mess with me at work. And then I don't understand. And they're like, ah, you're so cute because, oh, you are so, like, naive or something. And then I'm like, yeah, okay. And then they literally call me Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. They gave me that nickname. They were like, Sheldon. And like, my parents also call me that. And I'm like, no, no. I'm not a man, I'm a female, so I am not Sheldon.
Yeah. That actually reminds me that you brought that such a use I want to bring up since you brought up Sheldon. Um, people like a lot of people think that if you have autism you're stupid or you're like retarded. No, that is not the case. If anything, people with autism are actually really fucking intelligent at times.
Yeah, like most are, like especially people with high functioning. Um, because I've noticed with high functioning people and also with myself that I have, for example, I can be interested in something so much that I will know everything about that stuff. For example, the thing with mythologies has always uh, been like amazing to me since I was 5. And then I'm just obsessed with it. I become obsessed with everything that I like, and that's why I know everything about it. And it's like so much that I know even more than people that do something like that for their career or their job. And my parents always see it as me like being actually addicted to something, but they don't understand because they're not
Yeah,
autistic. So they're like, you're addicted to this, you're addicted to that, that's not healthy. But it's not as if I'm like addicted and then I do nothing but that and it will
yeah,
ruin my life, like with drugs or something. It's not an
yeah,
addiction to drugs, it's an addiction to knowledge. And also, people with autism usually have, well, not usually, but a few people that I know with autism, like even like my uncle, he has mid functioning autism.
yeah,
He has a very good memory, just like me. I have a very good memory. I remember so much. I remember things since when I was 1 years old, and I remember things from elementary school that my old classmates don't even know anymore. Like even the smartest classmates that I had back then, he even said like, your memory amazes me. He said that. So that's like a good thing that I like actually appreciate of my like autism, that the memory and the knowledge that I can remember and be interested in so much that I am smart that makes me smart academically then. Not
yeah.
socially, because that's a
Like
no.
yeah, like so. Oh, another thing like with people with autism is you become a creature of habit.
Yep.
Like you don't like change very much, and
Nope.
you fall into habits, and you can't really get out of them.
That's very true. Like that's like a, well, I don't think it's a problem, but it's a problem when you're around other people because they will think it's a problem. And for example, I wake up, I have my schedule, like I go to the bathroom first because that's necessary. Then I go eat and drink because that's necessary. Then I can go shower and brush my teeth. But when I'm done eating and I want to go to the bathroom to brush my teeth and someone's already in there, then it interrupts my schedule and then I get very pissed, and my family knows that, by the way. But yeah, when I've realized, that's also a thing that I've learned, um, is that even though you have your own schedule, you have to take other people in account, that they also, well, they don't have a schedule because they're not like that, but they do need to go to the bathroom whenever they need to. So
Yeah.
you cannot blame it on them, really, but sometimes they do try to, uh, like, like help me out. Like, not they no, they understand and they don't want to be in my way, at least.
Yeah.
But I also do the same for them. So that's a thing that I've learned, because when you live with multiple people in a house, with your family, your parents or something, then there's more than only you. There's also other people. It's not all about you. So that's a thing that I've learned, but I've also learned that when you have a tight schedule, or not even tight, like for example, you have to catch the bus to go to school, but you're in time, but the bus is too late. That will also stress me out a lot. I will get pissed. I will be angry. But I will think that's not even my fault because I'm in time. So there's also, like, always things in the world that will not work with your planning, with your schedule. Because even if you have the perfect schedule, there's always things on the outside that will go against you, not on purpose.
Yeah, you do fall into like little habits. And it is actually very easy to get addicted to things when you're autistic. You know what I mean? Like you get
Yeah,
more excited and enthusiastic about things to a
yeah,
point where it seems you're addicted.
that's true.
So you remember I mentioned there was a charity I wanted to like bring up?
Oh yeah, talk about the charity.
Okay. So wondering, I'm not like saying to go donate to this charity because this is actually a really bad charity for autistic.
Oh,
I don't know if I've talked about it before with you, Nick, but the charity is called Autism Speaks. If you haven't heard of them, like, yeah.
no,
Have I ever told you about this? All right,
no.
so it's a quote unquote autistic charity for autistic people, right?
Yeah.
But it's also a charity that goes out of its way to oppress, belittle, and like just harm autistic people as well.
What the hell? I've never heard of
A lot,
that.
like a lot of the money they raise doesn't even go to autistic people, as well as like, despite the fact that their charity quote unquote saying they're raising money to help with autism, they outright go out the way to try and silence, oppress, and belittle autistic people
Well, maybe
to
they're
a
doing that
point.
on purpose.
Yeah, to a point where they had a like they made a video at one point that basically, so it didn't outright say this, right? But the way that if you look into it, they're more or less saying it. And what they're saying is, if you have autism, you're ruining the lives of everyone close to you.
What? That's rude.
Yeah. They also painted that like if you have autism, it's really bad, like the way they build it, like, and they even have interviews with like parents of autistic kids, but they only show the bad parts because I'm not gonna lie, like being an autistic kid is not easy to rate. Like there's a lot of problems there.
Yep.
But like as I said in the interview, they deliberately only show the bad parts, like where the parents like talk about the bad experiences of it. You remember I mentioned how like they go the way like try and silence and oppress autistic people as well.
Yeah.
Um, there's one case where like an autistic child like made a shirt that says "Autism speaks, don't doesn't speak for me," and they sued the child and any property that basically is saying like that their charity doesn't speak for autism.
What the hell? That's so that's so mean. Like,
And
I don't
there's a
know.
few cases like that where like where like autistic kids have like said this charity doesn't speak for them, and they've gone out of their way to try and silence those kids, and like stop and like so that no one hears about it. As you can imagine, with like social media being the way it is, it gets to the internet pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't look into the charity and just looks at it from from their website would think it's a legit like charity. But once you dig deeper into it, you realize that it's actually really bad. It's not like they keep the majority of the money they get. They go out of the way to belittle and make it and like basically say that if you have autism, you're ruining your life, you're ruining the lives of everyone near you, and you shouldn't be around because of it, because you're just gonna make everyone's life harder for them. And like I said, they deliberately only focus on the bad aspect, and they don't like do any show like the good aspects. Because granted, yes, autism can be bad, but there's also like good elements to it.
Yeah.
But like a lot of people don't realize or don't focus on those good elements. Another thing I want to bring up. So you remember earlier in the podcast you mentioned that there are different tiers to autism, like high, low, and medium.
Yeah.
So basically, with high functioning, you're somewhat able to still function and act. You just have a few problems. So
Yeah.
mid functioning are a bit lower on that. Like they struggle a bit more, and they don't always like know how to act, or they don't know when they've like acted out. Low functioning, low functioning is really bad. Like I would not wish that on my worst enemy. And the reason why is with low function, you're basically like the mind of a child slash baby trapped in an adult body. You you can't like act on your own. You need someone to help you with everything.
Yeah.
And it's like you basically have had your life like just stripped from you. Nothing you could have done about it.
Yeah, that's really sad. I don't know anyone with low functioning autism, luckily. So
Yeah,
yeah, that
but
sounds really sad, to be
yeah,
honest.
but like I said, I work at a youth club that specializes in autism, and I've seen fair few of like low function. It's a really sad sight because legit like their lives have just been stripped from them. They can't do anything by themselves, and it's sad, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, do you have to like feed the kids or something, or
So
help them eat?
there are people out there that actually like. So I don't personally work with the low functioning. Like that's not my aspect, but I've seen them, and they do have to have like people dedicated to like looking after them, like from bathing them to helping them eat, wash. They have to have people assigned to them that focus purely on looking after them because they can't do it themselves. But like where like they even need like they don't need help walking, but the person has to tell them where to go, or they won't go anywhere, or they'll just start wandering around randomly.
Yeah.
Also, like low functioning, like I'm just gonna say this now, like, and don't think I'm trying to spread a ghost story with this, but the low functioning autistic people can actually be quite dangerous as well.
Why?
So with autism, because of how your brain works, there are some aspects of your brain that are limited. An example of that being strength, because normally a person's strength is limited by their brain with a mental block, so that you don't hurt yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, autistic, like low functioning autistic people, do not have that block,
Oh.
so they have access to 100% of their body's physical strength. So you can imagine what it's like when a low functioning who's got the brain of a small child has a tantrum. or as it's referred to, a kickoff.
Oh, that sounds horrible
Yeah,
because they will
basically
just beat you up or something or throw
yeah,
things at
you get
you.
the equivalent of a basically a child like throwing a tantrum, like so kicking and screaming and potentially swinging,
Yeah.
but with the strength of a fully grown adult and then some.
I've never really heard of that, what you told me. Like, I've never heard that before or seen that before or know anyone with that before. On occasion, when people are explaining things to me, but it goes too fast, too quickly, and then I have to be like, I have to repeat that sentence, what they said in my head, because I've heard the words, but I don't understand the meaning of that whole sentence, don't know what they mean, don't know what they want from me. I know that they want something from me, they're asking me something, but I have to repeat it, or they have to repeat it, or I have to read it twice, or something like that. So, for example, that is why I get 15 extra minutes for every test that I do at school. For example, we usually get an hour for the test. Well, I get an hour and 15 minutes, and that's all I need. That's like all I need, to be honest. Like, and the social thing or the emotional thing, it
Yeah,
doesn't really bother me. Like when I'm on my own, I'm fine. Like I like being on my own. Like sometimes I like being around people as well, but that's only people that are close to me and or that I trust, like very deeply. For example, like even then, I'm not even 100% myself. And
yeah,
yeah, so like only socially and sometimes emotionally I'm not the best, but that's not a problem for me. It's only a problem when I'm around other people. And I've had like experiences wherein my autism like doesn't help me at all, like the opposite, And it turned out to be bad for me. Like on an internship, I couldn't communicate very well, but even after I communicated, they were still being jerks. And so that's not my fault. That's just them being jerks. They're not having like very good morals or high standards or something. That's just their fault. That's not even me. Like in most cases I've solved it or someone helped me solving it, but that's all I need. I don't need like extra money or something. But I can imagine that like maybe mid or especially low functioning autistic people do need maybe like solutions which could cost money. For example, like someone from care that will care for them for like a period of their lives. But I mean, I don't know why they're being mean about that, to be honest, and be like, okay, we keep the money, and autistic people are stupid. We're only showing the bad parts. Like I'm on their side, and it indeed like looks like it's just a normal thing, a normal website, but yeah, it's not. It's like it's a
it
weird one.
it's one of those cases of a bunch of like really like I don't know what the word is like, but like douchebag like people capitalizing on something for a quick buck by like using scare tactics, horror stories to try and like get feign sympathy and get people to like donate or buy merchandise for easy money.
Oh, so they're just pretending that it's like so horrible, and then they just get like keep part of the money for themselves.
Yeah,
Does anything go? Like I get that like when the charity it like
I don't actually know if any of the money actually does go to autistic people.
because I understand like that it's usually that thing with charities that n- it's never or almost never that all of the money goes to like the people that they have the charity for, but because sometimes they have to pay their own people, their own workers a bit.
Yeah,
But
so like that makes
yeah,
sense
yeah.
because yeah, so that makes sense. But like I don't think any of the money they get actually goes to goes to the autistic. Could be wrong, and maybe a bit of money does, but I don't think any does. On top of again, like you just got like them, like they're as I said, anyone who like. So I'm gonna say like parents, for example, who don't actually research stuff, who might have come across the charity, would believe them to be completely legit and actually probably donate. You know what I mean?
Well, that's just
And not
rude.
and not look into it properly. That's the thing, because there's a lot of people out there who don't look into things and just go off like what they're told, and because of that, like that's how things like autism speaks continue to float. Is you've got that small handful who refuse to look into shit or just go off what they're told.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not saying like everyone reading this podcast should just listen to what I say and believe. Like, go research this stuff yourself as well. Like, don't just take what we're saying for it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Help
yeah.
form your own opinion by actually to it yourself.
Also, I have I haven't told like what causes autism because people think it's like I don't
So
know. People have different theories. So
if
Falcon,
you're
tell.
if you're gonna so you're born with autism, it's just a mental defect.
Yeah, you
There is
don't get it
no
from vaccines or
there is
something.
no evidence that says it comes from vaccines outside of people spreading horror stories. There is
Yeah.
literally no factual evidence that proves it's a vaccine that causes it. If you're one of those like anti-vaxxers who like you don't want to vax your kids because they might get autism, shut the fuck up. If
Yep.
they would have had autism, they would have got it already. A vaccine isn't what gives them it. You're born with it.
Yep. That's very true because
Like
like
it's a genetic thing,
yeah, it's a genetic thing. Like
and
that's
and
true.
like I said, like the whole vaccines cause autism or these other issues is again people just going off what they're told because like maybe one doctor has like come out and said it like out of like spite, but they never look into it themselves. But if they did, they would find there is a bunch of evidence that says it doesn't cause autism. I also find it funny how these anti-vaxxers actually believe that like they know more than a full medical professional on this.
Yeah.
So I know like we've gone from autism to anti-vaxxers real quick, but like there's got one more thing I want to like touch on this. So a guy actually made a post to show like that anti-vaxxers a lot of the time don't know shit about what they're talking about. And so he did. He put a massive list of chemicals, right, and said, "Here's a list of chemicals that are in a vaccine. Tell me which one you don't feel comfortable being in your body." As you can imagine, anti-vaxxers were like, "All of it." And his response is, "Really? Because this is the chemical composition for an apple to prove that you guys don't know what you're talking about."
An
Because it
apple.
shows that they don't research it, because if they did, they would know it was actually the chemical composition of an apple, not a vaccine. But like I said, that's what I mean. Like, they don't research this shit.
Yeah, like what is actually in a vaccine in the first place? It's like parts of
It,
the
it it's
illness and
it's dead
yeah,
versions of the illness,
yeah,
so
like
that your body can build an immunity to it because it's already been put into your body. The
yeah,
reason like you need something like a flu jab yearly is because the flu virus constantly evolves and changes its seed.
yeah. That's virus. Viruses always change. FYI.
Yeah, they adapt. But like that's why like so like that's why you can get certain injections and be safe because there are like because it has dead strands of the disease in it or virus in it that it so your body's white blood cells can get used to it and know what to look for when thing actually comes.
Yeah, like I literally learned this in school on my first education. So suck it, anti-vaccine moms.
Like I don't get how, like it's Karens a lot of the time.
Yep.
Also, like real quick, going on to Karens again, they act like they're actually trying to like petition to make Karen the equivalent of the N. And it's like, bruh, if you're trying to compare two words and you can't say one of them, that's the worser word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But legit, like, like all Karens out there, like who are actually named Karen and don't act like them. I feel sorry that this small handful of really entitled people are ruining your and giving you a bad name. And for those of you out there who are the entitled people who get nicknamed Karens, grow the fuck up.
Yeah, but it's usually that people are just like that because they've either like
They're
learned it,
entitled.
yeah, because it's just how they were raised and they think they're just entitled. Like
Yeah,
it's partially because of like how they were raised, so the parents, and partially because that's just environmental.
it's upbringing, stupidity, ignorance, and entitlement that
Yeah.
makes Karens like the way they are.
Yeah, I was looking for the word ignorance. I was like, what's
Yeah,
that word? Yeah.
It's ignorance of anything that they don't believe in. It's also like ignorance to refuse to like change or admit like they're wrong when the facts are brought to them. It's entitlement that believes that they're always right or that they deserve everything, and it's upbringing that they were like raised to be a bit like that.
Yeah, it's sad. Like no one should be like that. Everyone should think that everyone's equal. Like doesn't matter. Like if you're like what skin color you have, or if you're what like gender you
It's
have.
a lot of the time it's the fucking boomers, like really old people who are stuck in their racist sexist ways that pass on this thing to their children, who then pass it on to their children's children.
Well,
Yeah,
like I have the solution for that because if you just in like 100 years, then all the old people from now they have died, and then in 100 years, like everyone is like not racist anymore, right? That
I
will be the
mean
perfect
racism.
solution.
I mean it's not just old people that are racist.
I
Because
know,
remember it gets passed on.
but it was a joke, Falcon.
I know. Well, I didn't know, but yeah.
Now that I've told you, you know.
Yeah, there's an example we just said right there of like we don't like autistic people don't always tell when someone's joking.
Yeah,
But
like
I'm like
almost
trying to
never. Almost never.
yeah,
Well, I do know like when people are being like sarcastic, when they're like super exaggerating. For example, when I say I have dark hair and people are like, "No, really?" then I know that's so obvious sarcasm, but people use sarcasm as if they are talking normally, as if it's not sarcasm, as if it's like what they actually mean. And then
yeah.
like people are actually like laughing, and then they're like, that was obviously sarcasm, and I'm like, well, not obvious to me. That's not obvious to me. Like no, maybe to them, maybe it's like obvious to them, and that we just see different. I think that's it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. That's what they mean with that we like don't understand it. And I don't think that's for everyone, by the way. I just think it's for most people. Like I
Yeah,
don't want to speak for everyone having autism that all of them don't understand sarcasm and jokes, but it's one of the big things, just like the overstimulation and stuff like that.
yeah. And like we've said multiple times in this podcast, they're like autism is different for every person. No two people are going to have the same type of autism or like it's going to affect them in the same way. There'll be similarities, but there's never going to be like 100% dead set this is what it does.
Yeah, that's true because
Because
yeah,
I
that's just
feel
true.
like the reason we're hammering this point in so much is because there's still a lot of ignorant people out there that don't realize it and believe that like all like autism is the same, or like that if you have autism you're supposed to be stupid and not functioning.
Yeah, that I just think that's horrible because like I remember last year I wanted to. I had a job interview for an internship, and they were excited, and they were like, "That's a pretty girl, very nice, and she's motivated, obviously, and that's because I had to look for a new internship." And
Yeah.
because yeah, the old one sucked. I kind of told this in the podcast already, like a short story, but yeah. So that happened, and they were like, "Whoa, she's motivated. If she's like in this period of in this time, she's still looking for a new internship." So they were like super excited. But then like people like the school counselor, I should say something like that. The school counselor, she said maybe you should tell people that you're autistic in advance because then they will know that you need some structure in like your work and that you need to do something, because that's the thing that bothered me most. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't allowed to do anything on my internship, and you're there to learn, and if you're not doing anything, like time will go by like super slow and it's just boring, and I just hated it there. So that's why I had to tell like, hey, I have autism. So I literally said that, and their faces went like from being happy and excited to like, oh. And then they were like, okay, wait outside. And then I had to wait outside, and like 10 minutes later, they were like, yeah, we don't have a lot of time for an intern. And I was thinking to myself, like, then why did you even say, yes, come here to the job interview if you don't even have time for an intern? Like, why invite me even? Why didn't you say, like, oh no, we don't do internships right now because we're too busy? I told my dad that they said that to me, and my dad was like, that's probably because they think when you say autism, people will think, oh, that's a condition, that's like a disorder that will we have to do so much to help them, and we don't have time for that. Like, as in, they do have time for a normal person, but they don't have time for someone who constantly needs help or does
Yeah.
things slowly or something. But that's not me at all. But they think, when they hear the word autism, they just think, oh, that's bad, and then we don't have time for that. Bye. And then my dad said, you have to word it differently. You just have to say, like, I just need structure. You shouldn't just yell the word autism everywhere, because even if you explain it, like, these people don't have family members or friends with autism. They just see it once on the news or in the vaccination things, and like, they've heard it once and they think like, oh, that's bad, because they have no knowledge of it. So that I shouldn't say like I have autism, like in job interviews or something. Just say something like that you need structure. And if you say that, then it's good, because most companies do have structure, and so they can help you with that, or they can just be like, yeah, we have structure and schedules and stuff like that, but don't go yelling the word autism, because it will scare people off.
Yep. They're not wrong.
Yeah, and I
And
wish that
it
wasn't the case. I wish I could just yell autism and people would be like, yay!
that's the thing. Like I said, like a lot of people like they get scared off by autism because like they assume it means they have to do a bunch of extra work to like get to help the person like fit in. And
Yeah.
that's what sucks about it, because like again, like it's not a bad thing to be autistic. It can suck. It can be difficult, but it's not bad.
Yeah, like, look at me and Falcon. We're like super smart. I really said me and Falcon instead of Falcon and I, and then at the end I said that we are smart. Like, oh, that's an epic fail.
Yeah, can't always talk though.
Sorry,
But
this is
yeah,
my
no,
second language, okay?
yeah, it's cool though.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, a lot of people, like as I said, don't understand that there's different levels to autism and assume that if you're autistic, you're on the low end and they'll need to do a lot of extra work. They don't realize that like there's such a thing as a mid end and a high end.
Yeah.
Because as you said, they either don't look into it, or they don't have it, or they just go the whole horror stories that get told about it.
Yeah. Like, I hope they don't believe the vaccine moms or something, or the anti-vaccine moms.
I
Sorry.
mean, okay, anyone with more than two brain cells won't believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. I don't understand why moms actually think that. Maybe they're just overprotective and they don't want their child to have things in their body that they don't even know about, because obviously they don't know anything about it. They have no knowledge of it. So they could think, maybe there's something bad in it. Well, I don't want something bad in my child, you know? Maybe that's what they think, but I don't know how they
Yeah, but
started with
here's the
autism.
thing, like, rarely, and this is bad, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Rarely, kids who aren't vaccinated live past a certain age.
That's true. That's
Like,
not bad to
because
say. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth. I'm
it
sorry.
is, yeah, because as a kid, your immune system isn't as strong. So you need that extra layer of protection to help you get through those younger years where you're more vulnerable.
Yep.
If you don't have that, if you don't get that extra layer of help, you've got to be very lucky that like you make it past like the age of 4. Because as I said, when you're young, like a baby and that, or super young toddler, you don't have a strong immune system. Your immune system is very weak. So you need those vaccines to give you that extra layer of protection against the things that will actually kill you if you get them at that age. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of viruses and diseases that at that age will kill you if you don't have that extra layer of protection.
Yeah, that's true. Like, for example, there's like diseases that children will get, like little kids, like 1, 2 years old. And when you get that at that age, it's fine. It will go over. But if you don't have it and you don't get like vaccinated for it later on, and you're like 10 years old and then you get it, then it could be deadly. Then it's because you're too old for that. Basically,
Yeah,
it's like with chickenpox, for
exactly.
example.
Yeah, like your body can't fight it off properly.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's dangerous to have. That's why I get vaccinated for a lot of stuff. Like also for what's called, like, I think it's cervix cancer. Yeah, cervix
yeah,
cancer, and also for, I think I was very young at that age, so I don't know what it was, but I got a few vaccinations. I remember, but I don't know what it was. I was too young to know.
yeah. But yeah, no, yeah, as bad as it is to like say that, oh, like you're like if you got anti-vax like mom or something, probably not gonna live very long. But at the same time, it is kind of the truth.
Yeah, well, it's not. I don't even think it's like a bad thing to say, because it is the truth. So it's more like a warning. Like, people that are
Yeah,
listening right now and you're against those vaccinations, just do it because
like what would you
your
rather
child
have?
needs it.
Your yeah, like what would you rather have? Your child not be vaccinated and like die really young and have that guilt in your head that it's your fault because you didn't give them that extra layer of protection, or not vaccine and basically keep this quote unquote terrible stuff out of their body. I know I fucked up my point. I said like I went to not getting vaccine twice,
Yeah.
or get them vaccinated and just deal with whatever's in it and have them actually live and grow up to be decent people.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure everyone will pick the second one because they want their kids to live, right?
No, like no, like it's a common thing of like no parent should outlive their children.
Nope, that's true.
Like it like there is nothing more painful to a parent than losing your child. And it's like the whole saying of a parent should never outlive their child. Because like whilst it's painful for the child to like lose their parents, it's even more for the parent to lose their child.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, like, I was about to bring up like the parental like thing wherein they get like, they can do anything to protect their children, like when they usually cannot do that, but when it's like in the moment. and they have to protect their children's lives, then they will have more strength than usual. Like, I was
Yeah.
about to bring that up again, but we're talking about autism.
So this is just becoming a general purpose
Yeah.
podcast at this point. But yeah, no, that is actually a case of like parents have been known to show inhuman feats of strength when their child is in danger.
Yeah.
To the point like where there's case of like moms and dads lifting cars to get to their child.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a like I think it's like that maternal bond turns into a massive burst of adrenaline when your child is in danger. And like that's the case of animals as well. If the animal's like child is in danger, they also become a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen that happen with like cats, that they don't allow any other cats to go near their kittens.
Yeah,
Even if
exactly.
it's the
Like
dad, even the dad cannot come close. Like also with lions, I've seen that.
yeah, exactly. Like I think the way it goes with lions, it's interesting. Like the male lion of a pride will actually like I think like he will actually like look after and protect the children when the females are out hunting. I think the way it is with lions is the female lions are made for hunting, the male lion is made for fighting.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they protect the children and the pride when the females are out hunting. And that's why you'll often see like there's one male lion per pride because it's the strongest male. And that's why you see like that a lion will steal a pride by fighting the male to the death.
yeah,
Because it's like the main thing of animals is they want like they want to mate with the strongest of their like kind to spread the gene.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe there's also a case of male lions playing with the cubs.
Oh, I've never seen it. I've seen videos wherein like the male is trying to sleep and the cubs are like, I want to play, and then like the male actually gets mad at these babies. Like, why would you get mad at babies? But okay.
I
And
mean, wouldn't you if you like were trying to sleep and you had this like little shit constantly like bothering you?
well, I'm like, this child that would be bothering me wouldn't even know that they're doing something wrong.
I know, I was making a joke.
Oh, okay. Well, that's another example, guys.
Yeah, you'll see that a lot with us.
Yeah.
That one of us will make a joke, the other one doesn't get it.
Yeah, but that's also a thing that I think is good for raising children is like I see like in my like I work in a clothing store, and there's like people with children sometimes, and they either totally ignore their child, or they yell at their child. And I'm like, what are you doing that for? Because like if a child does something and we all know it's wrong, like the child is doing something wrong, like they're playing with the like the things that the clothes are hanging on, stuff like that. Or, they're running around the store. They don't know it's wrong. So the first thing you have to do is tell them that it's wrong.
Yeah, like,
And
I can understand yelling at your child if they do something bad, like because sometimes you do just to help get the point across. But at the same time, you also do need to explain to them the stuff of why it's bad.
yeah, but that's the
But
thing
a lot of
though.
yelling tends to happen like it's one of those in the moment things, like when it's actually warranted. But there are also parents that just try to yell at their kids for anything.
Yeah, like I've not really known, but like I know like someone whose ex is like that to their child. And then she was like, why where are you getting all that yelling from? Because I'm not, am I ever yelling to you? And then the child is like, no. Then where are you hearing that all that yelling from? And he's like, nowhere. And she's like, does daddy yell at you? And he's like, yeah, all the time. That's where he gets his yelling from, like seriously. And then she's like, no, no, don't yell. And we're not yelling here in this household. When you're at daddy's place, you can yell at him all you want. Because he's yelling to you, just yell back. But here we just treat each other with respect and, stuff like that. She told me. And I was like, whoa. Imagine having to share your child with someone who you don't really like, and that they just, and that they, you know,
Yeah.
you
Well,
have
that
to
is the
share your
case of like
child.
when parents split up. I mean,
Yeah, but it's like totally different than one household, you know, like there it's fine, and then in the other household he learns like bad stuff, and then he takes that bad stuff home to the first household, like, and maybe to school
that's
or
how it be
something.
sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's bad. Like, those people should, like, take parenting classes or something. Like, jeez, don't yell
There
to
are
your little
so
child.
there are legit people out there who are not fit to be parents, like
Yep.
mentally and all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of time they become parents from a split second decision with a person they're dating.
Yeah, or by accident, you know.
Yeah,
What I think is the best is, like, because people also punish their children a lot. Well, what I think you should do is, if they do something wrong, they don't know it's wrong. So first, you explain why it's wrong. You tell them to never do that again. And if they do
yeah,
it again, because now you've explained it, then you punish them because you've already explained, so they already understood that's wrong. Because I've had so many times that I just said some word, or that I did this or that, and then I got punished by just having to eat my dinner on the staircase, like in the hallway, so I could eat on at the table. They were like, "Go sit in the hallway," and then that wouldn't, like, all I would just see from that is like, why, you know? Why am
yeah,
I supposed to eat there? And then I'm totally not even gonna eat my dinner.
yeah.
Like, we're talking about parenting now. Like, we went from autism to vaccinations and the moms to, like, lions.
Parenting.
Yeah, and parenting. And lions.
Yeah, like this shows that we like cannot keep on track for more than a few seconds.
Yeah, but it's just because there's just too many subjects. Like, there's not even one subject autism. Like, even with autism, there's also
There's a
like other
lot.
things. Yeah, like, for example, when I had autism, I mean, when I had, that's not what I meant. I mean, when they figured out that I had autism, like, no one figured it out from, like, my family, friends, whatever. It was just doctors that figured it out. And I was like 15. Yeah, I just turned 15, yes, and people are um, like, of course I already had it all my life, but and everyone knew there was something about me that was different, but they never thought it was autism. At first, I remember when I was 5 and 6, they thought I had ADHD or something, and turned out I didn't have that or something. I don't know how they figured that out. When you are a child, it's more difficult to find out if they have autism. Like, it's super hard to find out because
Yeah,
it's usually like people my age, maybe a bit younger, like, 15, that are, then you can actually try and diagnose, because you cannot really talk and have conversations about what are your symptoms, and your thoughts to a child, like a little child. They just run everywhere, and they maybe cannot communicate, but other children that don't have autism also cannot communicate, with adults, like adults. So that's why it's hard to diagnose them at such a young age. So that's why, like, 15-year-olds, around that age, maybe even older,
yeah.
like, then you get diagnosed properly.
My diagnosis was a funny one actually.
Oh, tell me.
So my diagnosis, I actually got diagnosed twice. And I'll explain this. So at first it was a home assessment where the person said I didn't have autism. That's because I was in my safe space, right?
Yeah.
And then we had another assessment outside of home, and I think my change was so different that the guy who assessed me even said he was never gonna judge a kid based on how they act at home again for autism.
Oh, he
Like it
learned his
was that
lesson.
it was that big of a change between how I am at home to how I am in public. due to being out of my safe place. And even now, I change drastically when I'm in public to how I am at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when I'm in my safe place, like I can be talkative like I am now, but I have limited social skills in the sense of, like I can only do so much social interaction at a time. Do more than that significantly drains me,
Yeah.
and I'm also quite prone to panic attacks at times.
Oh.
When I'm out of home in like areas I'm unfamiliar with or unsettled by, I become very anxious. I become very quiet. I struggle to speak to people, even if it's someone I have to speak to. I don't go anywhere on my own because I struggle to function.
Ah.
Like, yeah, so it's a weird one. With
Yeah, you have told me that. You have told me that you went to talk to someone at some point, like it was just a dude, and your mom was with you, and she had to talk for you because you could barely get any word out.
yeah, I couldn't bring myself to talk. I was trying. Don't get me wrong, but I couldn't.
I remember because I didn't say anything, my parents had to like guess what I was thinking or and then they said things for me, but they were totally wrong and they were more talking from their perspective. So I didn't get any real help because it didn't work because it's from their perspective and that's like wrong. I'm sorry to
Yeah,
say that, to say like their perspective is wrong, but it is because they don't have my mind. Like they are not autistic, I'm autistic. They don't know what I'm feeling and
yeah.
so
So
that's why
my
I learned to talk.
yeah, like my mom's pretty good at like understanding me because I have a lot of conditions mentally and physically.
Yeah.
So she's kind of had to like get good at like figuring, especially since I don't speak for myself all the time. So when we get to the doctors, like my mom normally does have to read on what she's saying, but she goes off of what I've been telling her at home. Like if I've been complaining about certain conditions at home,
Oh yeah.
like yeah, so she doesn't just like go off like her perspective. She actually like does go off based on like what I've been complaining about at home,
Oh yeah.
and that yeah.
Yeah, I
So
didn't do that.
yeah, so for example, once I went to doctors, like I've been complaining about my feet for a while. So when we went to doctors to get it checked out, my mom had to leave, but she like brought up about my feet because that's what I was currently complaining about.
Could you talk to the doctor when she left?
I I can sometimes if it's a doctor I'm familiar with, so it's one I've seen multiple times. But if
Oh.
it's someone completely new I've never seen before, I would not be able to talk.
Oh, well, I don't have that.
Like, like being like when I told people like I was doing a course to help my self esteem, they're like, yeah, you kind of needed help.
Yeah, like, but people just can't just say dumbest things to, like, get help. Remember when a friend of ours said, like, you just need to have sex or something, like, that doesn't work for, like, anxiety or self-esteem,
Oh
just one,
yeah,
one
because I think
sex or
I
something.
remember that because like it was Medi.
Yeah, I didn't want to say his name, so that's why I'm like, oh, one of our friends,
I mean, no one knows us, so no
Yeah,
one's gonna like. And again, we go off our online names all the time.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that's also a funny thing. Like, we usually place Might with, like, it's us two, and then there's Luke, and then there's Meows. And all four of us have autism. And I found it, like, such a coincidence that that's really funny, like, to me.
Yeah, that all four of us have it.
Yeah. Like, and not even on purpose. It's not as if I was looking for, like, I wasn't even typing in, like, the search bar, Smite gamers that have autism, and then I found them. No, it's like real coincidence.
To be fair, a lot of us meeting each other was mostly coincidence.
Yeah, that's true. Like
Like,
I met you because of Luke, and I met Meows because of Luke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how you. I don't remember how you met Luke. I think it has to do with like your one of your exes.
yeah, yeah, like the most horrible ex ever.
Yeah,
Remember? Yeah,
you're really toxic ex. Yeah,
yeah,
who is the reason you met Luke.
yeah,
It's amazing how like people are brought together by pain.
yeah. I think I've covered like a lot.
Yeah, we've covered quite a bit in this podcast, so I think we're actually good to stop. I think.
Yeah, we're good to stop. Okay, so bye, guys. Say bye,
See
Falcon.
y'all.
Yeah, bye.